My name is Naomi Buckwalter. I'm the Senior Director of Product Security at Contrast. And I'm guessing since you're here at this talk, you're probably what I like to call management curious. You've probably been an individual contributor for a number of years now, right? Maybe you have experience across multiple domains and have done everything from help desk to security operations to security engineering to incident response. You're hands on keyboard, you've got the technical chops, and you probably have a reputation for being the go to person on your team or your department or even your whole company, right? I bet you're pretty awesome. But I also bet you also have a bit of a restlessness in you, a little spark. You might be wondering if there's more that you could be doing with your job or your career or with your life. Maybe you've been offered an opportunity in your current role to take on more leadership responsibilities. Or like I did back in 2015 when I was a senior security engineer at a large digital marketing company, you might be watching how your own security leader is performing in their job and think of all the ways you can do it better, right? So if you're sitting here, chances are you're asking yourself, should I leave my current technical path and go into leadership? All right, great question. It is a big question, that's for sure. But there's no single right answer, is there? The technical path offers massive rewards. You got the freedom to work independently, the satisfaction of mastering something technical, deep technical and focused work, all great things. But leadership, that opens up a whole new world of possibilities. The chance to build out a security program, to grow a team, greater career opportunities, the chance to have a bigger impact. Who wouldn't want that? So, how do you decide which path is right for you? How do you decide which path aligns with your passions and your aspirations and your skill set? What are the realities of cybersecurity leadership? What's the good, the bad, the ugly, the highs and the lows? And what does it take to succeed as a leader in this field? And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in the next 40 minutes or so, half an hour or so, however long it takes. Because whether you're 100% convinced that this is your next move for you and your career and your family, or you're just curious, management curious about your options as a leader, I hope my talk today will provide you the insights, the tips, the inspiration you need to choose your own path and make the leap into cybersecurity leadership like I did in 2016. So let's jump into it. Well, first of all, let's define cybersecurity leader. What is a TLDR? Well, a cybersecurity leader, according to NIST, is someone who sets a vision, develops effective strategies, advocates for cybersecurity across an organization. They follow best practices, align to a cybersecurity framework, or at least I hope they do, and they make data-based decisions and not emotionally based ones. They stay up to date on the latest tactics and techniques and IOCs. And hopefully you are currently working for or have worked for someone who does all of these things. But if you haven't, that's okay too. We're all on a learning journey. And this talk is designed to help you understand what it takes to be an effective cybersecurity leader. Now, effective cybersecurity leaders, they need a broad understanding. You all know this, you're smart. They need a broad understanding of multiple technical and non-technical business domains. Think about it. How can you lead a team of security analysts if you can't do a risk assessment? You need to understand the threats, the vulnerabilities, the potential impact to your company in order to actually make a good decision, right? And how can you secure your networks if you don't understand networking? You need to know how networks operate, how they're configured, where your weak spots are, and how attackers try to come in. And how can you influence decision makers if you don't understand the priorities of the business? You need to be able to speak their language, connect cybersecurity to business objectives, and demonstrate the value of security day in and day out. Now, clear communication, critical thinking, technical expertise, good decision making, mentoring, providing growth and learning opportunities for your team members, making tough decisions under pressure. All these are critical for good security leaders. And hopefully you're sitting here thinking, yeah, that sounds great. I can do that. Yeah, I want to do all that. That's awesome. I want that for you too. I really, really do. So now let's jump into the actual meat of the presentation here, the good, the bad, the ugly, because there is a lot here to talk about. So for the good, we've got impacts. As a security leader, you shape the security posture of your entire organization. You're not just configuring firewalls and patching machines. You're building a culture of security where everyone understands the importance of protecting data and systems. You're influencing decisions that reach far beyond your own team, impacting the entire organization in your company. And sometimes, and I've had this, sometimes you have a direct line to the CEO or even the board of directors. And I think that's pretty cool. Your impact is huge. Another good thing is strategic thinking. Leadership requires you to grapple with complex challenges, think strategically about risks and solutions, and collaborate across teams. You need to understand the business. You need to understand the business needs of your company and how cybersecurity fits into that bigger picture. It's applying your technical knowledge with business knowledge and getting real results for the business. It's super challenging. It's hard, but I will say it's incredibly rewarding to see your work reflected in the company's bottom line. The next one I could think of is mentorship. This one's my favorite. Remember that spark I mentioned earlier? You have a little spark in you, a little restlessness. Well, as a leader, you get to ignite that spark in others. You get to guide, inspire, empower the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. It's so cool. You become a mentor and a role model, someone who makes a real difference in the lives of others, but hopefully a positive one. And we've probably all had examples of leadership that has been great mentors for you. And sometimes you have examples of those who haven't, which is all good. These are all the things that you need in order to be an excellent cybersecurity leader. All those experiences. All right. Finally, growth. Leadership requires you to open yourself up to a world of opportunities. If you want to become a CISO one day or lead your own security program, maybe even start your own cybersecurity company, that'd be cool. Leadership just opens huge doors that you might not even consider today, sitting in your chair there. It's a chance to expand your skills, broaden your horizon, and take your career to the next level. And we all know this. You guys are smart. But with the good comes the bad. So we're going to talk about the bad next. But think about all these good things. Maybe this is worth it for you, especially now that I'm getting into the bad stuff. All right, keep those in mind. Okay, so with the good, I got the bad. Okay, now we've got some responsibility things. All right, in your current role, right, you're making the impact. Awesome. In your current role, you're probably responsible for one or two or three things. As a leader, you're responsible for all of it, the whole system, the whole shebang, not just one piece of it. Security, you got security program management, team performance, got budgets, KPIs, OKRs. It all falls on your shoulders and can be a heavy load to carry. And sometimes it feels like the weight of the world is on your back. And this can lead to a ton of stress and burnout. I mean, guys, I was burned out just last week. I had to take a whole week off. It's a lot. And then there's the hands-off tech. Remember that feeling that you get when you merge a commit and fix a vulnerability or found an exploit, like that sense of accomplishment, that technical, like, yes, that was awesome. As a leader, you find yourself spending more time in meetings than hands-on keyboard. You're dealing with the sales team and the legals team and customers and prospects and spreadsheets and security questionnaires. God, the security questionnaires, right? Those goddamn security questionnaires. You will miss that feeling of being in the trenches, that adrenaline rush of solving something technical. You will miss it. And then you've got the people problems. All right. You won't always have high performers on your team. It won't always be sunshine and rainbows and unicorns. Sometimes it's donkey farts. Yeah. You have to deal with a lot of interpersonal conflict, difficult personalities, low performers. You might have to fire people. I have. And it takes a lot out of you. And sometimes makes you question your entire career choice. I certainly have. And finally, there's the work-life struggles. Leadership in this field means longer hours, dealing with incidents in the middle of the night, and that nagging feeling of always being on call, on. It's super tough to juggle your responsibilities at work with your personal life. It can be exhausting. And if you aren't able to take time away and unplug, well, you end up burning out big time. I think the last time I read the ISACA workplace survey for cybersecurity leaders, it was something like 80% of us are burned out. And that probably includes the people in this room, by the way. Like 80% of us burn out every year, whatever it is. And then the rest of us just want to open up a bait shop in Hawaii on a beach somewhere and just sell worms. It would be simpler. But anyway, that's the bad. And now you're probably like, okay, what else? What else, right? There's more than this. Okay, now we'll talk about some of the ugly stuff. It's time to get real. There's actually worse than the bad stuff. There's a darker side, the stuff that no one really wants to talk about. The ugly truth about cybersecurity leadership. All right. Well, first of all, there's the blame game. When things go wrong in security, like who gets the blame? Who's in the hot seat? You are. Even if it wasn't directly your fault. As a leader, you are ultimately responsible for the security team's success and failures. You have to face the music. You have to take the heat. And then you have to figure out how to move forward. You might get fired. You might even find yourself on the wrong side of a lawsuit or sitting in Washington, D.C. testifying before Congress. It happens. And they're all recorded too. You can find it on YouTube. Anyway, then there's the tough decisions. As a leader, you're going to be faced with situations where there's no easy answer. There's no right answer. There's no black or white. When you're a leader, you might have to make unpopular calls, like cutting budgets, restructuring teams, laying off people that you really have come to like and love working with. These decisions are incredibly difficult and can weigh heavily on your conscience. Sometimes you won't be able to sleep. And honestly, you don't know if you've made the right decision until possibly months or years after the fact. And let's not forget our old friend, imposter syndrome. That nagging voice in your head that whispers, you're not good enough. You don't belong here. It's common. It's super common, even for seasoned veterans, seasoned professionals. Leadership can be intimidating. It's easy to feel that you're not qualified. But remember, everyone experiences self-doubt at some point. You might be sitting there right now, like, what am I doing here? Right? My first security conference, second security, it doesn't even matter. Sometimes you go through these phases. The key is to acknowledge that feeling, be like, okay, I got this, but then doing something with that feeling. I might not know it yet. I can learn it. I might not know it great, but I can learn it. Believe in your own abilities. Believe in yourself. Push through those feelings, because you are smart enough, you are capable, you are good enough to be here. It's the same thing with leadership. So those are the ugly things. And I know it can be hard and daunting, but I think that's also what makes this whole journey so rewarding. And I've been a security leader since 2016. I've hired people, I've fired people, I've been fired myself. It's all a learning journey. I think, and I'm still learning this, how to be a really good and successful cybersecurity leader, which is why I'm here. I'd love to share this with you. But leaders are constantly facing these challenges head on. And, sometimes we don't even know if we're doing the right thing, especially, and you kind of get this, especially if you worked for a bad security leader. Like, you're probably like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you don't know what you're doing. Actually, some of us sometimes don't know what we're doing. And we are just relying on best practice. And we're just relying on a framework. And we're just relying and standing on the shoulders of giants. But if you stay humble and you learn from your mistakes and you face those challenges head on, man, I think that's what makes this journey all worthwhile. All right. Stop getting so sentimental. Next. So if you're still with me, and haven't scared you out of the room, that's good. Now let's talk about what it actually means to be a successful leader in cybersecurity. And again, I'm still learning this. It's more than preventing breaches, and it's more than just keeping the bad guys out. Right? We need to make that business run. Cybersecurity is risk management for a business. We're not trying to say no. We're trying to say how. It's not just about being technical, the super nerd in the room. That's not what that means. It's not about climbing the corporate ladder. What does it mean to be a successful leader in cybersecurity? It's about building a strong team. It's about championing security. It's about driving innovation, helping the business, creating positive change and impact around you. Successful security leaders, right? What does this actually mean here? They build strong and resilient teams. Think of yourself as a coach. You are guiding, you are empowering, you're like the captain of your team. You're helping them achieve awesome things. You're there to foster a culture of collaboration where everyone feels valued, respected, motivated to contribute their best work. And you're going to have highs and lows, absolutely, but you'll celebrate with them their successes, and you're going to support them through their lows, their challenges. You're going to hopefully create an environment where everyone can thrive, both personally and professionally, right? This is the whole thing. You're going to give of yourself a lot. And this is that emotional thing that can lead to their burnout. So be careful here. But success for security leaders, successful leaders, also means they are great champions for security across their organization. I mentioned this earlier, you are an advocate for security. You are educating and influencing others about the importance of cybersecurity in every aspect of the business. It doesn't matter where you sit in the org. You are still helping your business any way possible. You are a leader of how, not know. You're going to translate complex technical topics and concepts into clear and understandable language for non-technical people. That's what you do as a leader. You ensure that everyone from the CEO, CFO, CTO, CIO, all the C's, all the way down to the intern, you help them understand their role in protecting the organization and providing good security advice to everyone. Success also means driving innovation. You're encouraging creative thinking. You're exploring new technologies. You're helping the business grow and innovate and build things and build fast. And you're constantly seeking out better ways to protect your organization. You're staying on top, ahead of the curve, on top of new technology, anticipating emerging threats. You're helping improve the business, fostering that culture of not just making sure nothing gets lost, data breaches happening, right? But you're also fostering that culture of innovation, of improvement. You're helping drive the business in a secure environment as fast as you can go business. That's my job. I'm helping you build your stuff and ship things and sell things, but I'm giving you those guardrails and the advice to help you operate in that safe environment. That's what I want for you, business. And that's what good, successful leaders do in cybersecurity. But ultimately, I will say, success as a cybersecurity leader is all about creating a positive impact. It's about using your leadership skills to inspire and mentor and make a real difference in both your organization and the community at large. You're going to share your knowledge. You're going to guide aspiring professionals. You're going to contribute to it's going to sound corny. You're going to contribute to a safer and more secure digital world. It's true, though. I mean, you need good leaders. All right, but what does it really take to thrive as a cybersecurity leader? What qualities separate those who, shall we say, simply manage and tell people what to do, right? From those who truly lead and inspire? What are those qualities? And here's what I came up with here. We got vision, right? So successful cybersecurity leaders are seasoned explorers. They're charting a course through uncharted territory, really. They see the bigger picture. They understand the organization's goals, and they can articulate a clear direction for their team, for the company, for their executives. They can anticipate challenges. They can identify opportunities. They can inspire others to follow their lead. But with a vision, without communication, and I said that ironically, terribly. A vision without communication is like if you're charting a territory, it's like a ship without a sail. Effective cybersecurity leaders are master communicators. They can explain complex technical concepts. They can explain really deep technical things to a non-technical audience. Who was it that said that you don't truly understand something until you can explain it to a kindergartner? I forget who said that. But I'll say it's true. If you can't explain something, how can you really, really deeply understand it? Explain to someone who doesn't live in your world. You can explain complex technical topics. You can build consensus among different teams, not just technical teams. You can inspire confidence in your stakeholders to be like, you know what? That cybersecurity leader, they know what they're talking about. They got our back, right? The business person's going to be, they got our back. They're not just here to make us hate them, to say no to us. They're here to help us. Good, successful cybersecurity leaders, they listen, actively listen. They speak clearly. They tailor their communication style to their audience. Integrity is a good one. Cybersecurity leaders are entrusted with, and you know this, protecting the sensitive information of the business, making critical decisions that impact the entire organization. They have to be honest. They have to be ethical. They have to be trustworthy. They act with transparency, uphold the highest standards of conduct, and inspire trust in their team. And if you don't, you end up in prison. And it has happened. Most recently, know somebody, right? Somebody who was the CISO of a large ride-sharing company ended up in prison because they decided to make a bad decision, unethical decision. And finally here, actually not finally, I got 5. Successful cybersecurity leaders possess empathy. They understand and can connect with their team members on a personal level, recognizing strengths, supporting their growth, creating a positive and inclusive work environment. Yes, it can be done. Emotional intelligence and empathy. And here's the last one. Finally, resilience. you know this, the cybersecurity landscape, tech, constantly evolving, right? The landscape's just always changing. We've got AI now. We've got large language models. We've got self-driving vehicles. My goodness. Challenges are inevitable. Successful leaders, they bounce back from this. They realize the difficulties, right? They can see the challenges ahead. They either bounce back from the setback, they learn from their mistakes, they never give up on their vision. They see where the promised land is. They know what good information security looks like, and they can adapt. They have resilience. They embrace those challenges. They embrace them as, opportunities for growth, both personally and professionally. They inspire their team around them to do the same, to persevere through adversity. And I know I might be overly dramatic here, but it's true. It's day in and day out, and that's kind of where that burnout can happen. Where if you don't see it coming, it could really just hit you like a truck. Or that slow drip every single day of the stress. A good leader understands what the priorities are, and they're able to set aside the things that don't matter. Here's a good example. How many of you currently do risk management, vulnerability management? If you are currently rating things by like CVSS score for third-party vulnerabilities, CVEs, known CVEs, if you're doing that, maybe, just an idea, maybe you're putting the focus on the wrong things. If you know something's unreachable, if you know something, a vulnerability might exist, but it's unexploitable because it's unreachable from anywhere, either the public internet or even internally within the network, maybe you shouldn't focus on that so much. Focus on the critical stuff, the things that are exploitable, the vulnerabilities that are reachable. Those are the things that you can set in front of either your dev teams or in front of yourselves to help patch and fix immediately. You don't have to wait for anyone to do this stuff. You can do it yourself. Set those in front of you to work on. Everything else can be pushed aside. And then that actually gives you that breathing room to say, I can do this. We can do this as a team. Let's focus our energy, our resources, our time on the things that matter and not the hundreds of other patching and vulnerability and all those findings that we have from all the security tools. And ironically, I do work for a security vendor. And yes, I get it. Your security tools are just going to show you a bunch of different stuff. And, how do I prioritize this stuff? Okay, here's this. This is it. Don't just prioritize based off of CVSS. Don't do it. It's a temptation, but don't do it. Do only the things that are critical to your organization, that have actual impact, that touch the bottom line. Those are the things that you want to work on. And have that resilience to know better, to do better by your team. All right. Once you become a leader, you will. Okay, next, here's some tips. About almost done here, about 10 more minutes. So now that you've heard all these things and you haven't left the room, thank you. Now you're ready to step up and lead. Great. So how do you actually make that happen? Here are some tried and true ways that I have asked actual CISOs on how they did it. I'll tell you how I did it too. Quite simply, I was the first security hire for a small and mid-sized software company. They were looking for a security engineer, and I said, it looks like you don't have a security program. Why don't I build one out for you? Boom. That's how I got my first cybersecurity leadership role. Didn't end up well because I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I learned a lot along the way. Hey, got to follow a cybersecurity framework. That's for one. That's for sure. 2, don't do too many cybersecurity things. Only do what the business needs you to do. Don't do too much. You are there as a service for the business. 3, don't you get yourself fired, right? Make friends around the business. That's another thing that I had to learn. That's how I did it personally. First security hire, small software company. And from there, it's always been leadership. And I really like it. Hopefully, I can tell you a couple more tips here on how to break in. But here are some things that you should work on, at least for yourself. Okay, you got to work on your soft skills, guys, gentlemen, ladies, everywhere in between. We suck at self-awareness. We are really, really bad at soft skills, people skills. Yes, we are the jerks in the room sometimes. Maybe you're the exception. Maybe you're the nice one. I've certainly struggled with this, especially coming up as a security engineer. You're told, hey, you're smart all your life. Hey, you're good at this technical stuff. You're great at computers, right? You're the smartest person in the room. Now you've hit a ceiling. Maybe you're sitting here in the room thinking, what next? What is up with my career? I can't seem to get promoted. I can't seem to break into leadership. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's your soft skills. Maybe you're an asshole. I like to tell this to people, right, who actually listen to me. The common denominator to all your problems is you. That you. So if you're struggling with any aspect of your life, think about, am I the drama? Am I the problem? Maybe. Work on your soft skills. Work on your self-awareness. You got to understand that sometimes we are wrong, and it's okay. Working on our soft skills. What is soft skills? People skills. Communication. That's a good one. Can you explain complex security topics to someone who might not understand what a firewall is, like the difference between a firewall and phishing? Can you explain that? Can you be clear? Can you be concise? Can you do this written and verbal? Can you listen? 2 ears, 1 mouth. Can you listen to your stakeholders? Can you listen to other people as they're telling you what they need and you're not just actively throwing solutions at them, right? Are you listening? That communication, that two-way street. Soft skills, what else is there? Ooh, this is a good one. Decision making. That's a good one. Decision making. If you aren't good at decision making, here's something that I like to tell people. Here's a tip. In my off time, I am a volleyball referee. And let me tell you, you are making hundreds of decisions every match. And they're split-second decisions. And sometimes you make a right call, sometimes you make a bad call. But they're all sometimes tough calls. And you gotta own it. When I practice my decision making as a volleyball official, it directly translates into my job as a security leader because I've seen patterns. I recognize behaviors in other people. I can say, if I do X, Y, and Z, given parameters A, B, and C, I know that something will happen. And I know probably the probability being quite high, since I've seen it before, like these things will happen as a result. If you put yourself in the position to practice decision making, you will become better at it when you become a security leader. And you need to be able to just call something as you see it. Leaders make those tough calls, sometimes with limited information and under pressure. If you sharpen your pattern thinking, your pattern matching, your analytical thinking, your critical thinking skills, and you could step back and you think, okay, I see the bigger picture now. Can I make that decision for my business, for my team during an incident? Can I make that decision to guide my company out of this situation or through the situation? Decision making is a good one. All right. Got to rush a little bit here, guys. Emotional intelligence is a big one. I mentioned this earlier with empathy. Emotional intelligence is a good one because as logical people, as analytical people, sometimes we really value that side of our brain, right? But it's the right side. We really value it. Maybe it's the left side. I don't even know. Right now, I'm not thinking critically. It's important because when you realize you are working with humans, as a leader, you are working with humans. You are no longer just hands on keyboard doing technical. You are working with relationships and people, and they are complex. If you can step in their shoes and understand where they're coming from and have the empathy for them, have that emotional intelligence to just come with humility up to them and say, I hear you. Let's work on this together. Right? That is so powerful. You can manage your own emotions. You don't just get angry immediately about something. You don't blame anybody for things that are going wrong because that's not going to help. You know that. By blaming and shaming someone, that's not going to go back in time and fix the issue. That's not going to be. And if you guys play any sports, that's a team sport, and one of your teammates makes a bad pass or does something that you're like, well, that wasn't optimal, right? Like yelling at them and getting angry at them. Do you think that's actually going to make them feel better about themselves and be better in that moment? No, they're going to think you're an asshole and be like, I'm not doing it on purpose. I mean, like, come on. I shanked that ball not on purpose. I play volleyball. It's about managing your emotions and emotional intelligence, having that self-awareness. All right, other tips for breaking into cybersecurity leadership. Here's a good one. All right, look for those opportunities. I asked one of my sister friends, how did you break into cybersecurity? And they're like this. Well, I just raised my hands. I volunteered. I looked for roles within my current work. I took on a bigger project. I mentored a junior team member. I took charge of a new initiative. I took problems off my boss's plate. Them as an individual contributor, they raised their hand. And that's all it took for at least this one person. They seem to have a knack for it. Not only did they excel in that project or that initiative, other people started to see, hey, this person really knows how to lead. They're doing the thing. They're walking the walk, talking the talk. They're leading by example, right? And this is them without that formal title. They were, I think this at this point, just security engineer, just like I was. And I remember looking around and looking at my boss at the time, be like, I could probably do that. I could probably be a little bit better than this person, right? They led by example. Didn't matter if they didn't have the title. They demonstrated those leadership qualities, communication, clear communication, empathy, emotional intelligence. They're able to explain technical topics to a non-technical audience. They're able to think critically. And they made good decisions. Those are those great qualities in that leader that they saw. And it's interesting because as a leader, no one's going to really tell you that you're doing those things well or poorly. You kind of just get the evidence in front of you. You have team members who are either really engaged or checked out or somewhere going up and down that scale. You get that evidence, that feedback right from you. You get those projects that are either on time or they're not. And you got people who are willing to help you or they're not. Here's another thing that if you are currently looking to break into cybersecurity, take a look at your calendar right now, your work calendar. This is a great personal metric of mine. I like to look at my calendar and I look and I say, how many conversations have I been invited to where security is not the main focus of that conversation, but we were invited to bring expertise and advice to the people in that room, whether it be engineering, architecture, project management, product, sales, customer success, any of that. If you are being invited, that's awesome. That is a sign that somebody loves you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are being invited to conversations that you really shouldn't be a part of, they respect you. They want you in the room. They want your advice and your expertise. Not because you have to be there, but because they want you there. So something that you could work on is possibly getting yourself invited to those conversations. Make your aspirations known. Like tell somebody in your team, on your team, in your company, in your department, across departments. It'd be great if security could know more about what you guys do, especially if you're down in the technical weeds where maybe your security team is like buried under the IT department, which by the way, I personally hate. I think we should be peers with IT. If anything, we should be in charge of IT. That's another thing. But if you're buried there underneath the IT department, you might not see the bigger picture always, right? So you can invite yourselves, make your aspirations known, talk to the sales team, talk to the customer success team, talk to the product team. Be like, how can we help? How can security be a service for you? And by the way, Security has always been a service for the business. We do not exist without the business. We are a service for the business. So, boom, get that in your mind. All right. Make your aspirations known. Tell your manager, tell your network, tell your mentors, tell your peers that you are interested in leadership. Ask for their guidance and support. What are they going to do? Say no? That's okay too, right? Maybe that's not the right place for you. And finally, this is a good one here, breaking into security leadership, just general ideas here. Seeking feedback. This is a good one too. If you are constantly asking for real, unfiltered thoughts from people, oh, and this is a good one. Ask for feedback from someone who like actually hates you, like an enemy. Like ask your everyone's got one. Ask your enemy or your frenemy or someone who you absolutely know does not like you, right? Ask for their feedback because they will give you the unvarnished, unfiltered truth about you. That I definitely, this isn't for work, but I asked one of my non-friends for feedback and we had a fight at one point. And I said, I always seem to think that you don't like me. What is it? And she just laid it out on me, man. She had sent me a whole text. Boom. It was like 300 words. It was crazy. I was like, oh, okay. Good to know, right? Like that self-awareness. Your friends aren't probably going to tell you. Your mentors probably aren't going to tell you the truth. But if you ask somebody who you might have butted heads with, ask them. Yeah, I would just really appreciate what you think of how we handled that project or how I might have conducted myself in that meeting. Is there anything that I could change about my interaction with your team or you? And if they're up to it and they're kind of in the mood, right? They're going to, yeah, they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you. Seek that feedback, good or bad. You're going to take that, you're going to build that self-awareness. You're going to build your emotional intelligence and your empathy and that ability to see yourself in an unbiased fashion. That's going to help you be a good leader. Having those regular check-ins with your leader, they can give you that feedback. Getting a mentor. Here's another thing. If you don't have a leadership mentor, I strongly suggest you getting one. It doesn't have to be within your company. You might want to find someone even outside of your industry, your immediate industry. You want to get a whole bunch of different mentors. But if you get maybe a neighbor or somebody you know at the gym or somebody you're friendly with, to just give you advice about how they became leaders, what they struggle with every day, what are their challenges, what are the happy things about their job. And you kind of get more involved in understanding of what it takes to be a leader. If you get different industry leaders, not just cybersecurity, so different industries, and you understand how they got there and what they did, all very, very helpful. Get yourself a mentor that can tell you their story and are happy to share their story with you, because then you can just sit and think, I can do that too. I could be them too. And if you can see yourself doing what they're doing and having the struggles along the way and embracing those challenges, you are ready. You're ready to be a leader. I'll leave you with some final thoughts here. It's interesting. If you're sitting here listening to this, and thank you for not leaving. I'm so awkward sometimes. I'm sorry. You don't need a leadership title to be a leader. True leadership isn't about hierarchy or authority or titles. True leadership is about action. It's about influence and making a positive impact. It's about stepping up, taking ownership, driving change, regardless of your position. It's about building strong relationships, solving problems, inspiring others to be their best. But most importantly, leadership starts with leading yourself. You have to know yourself. You have to take control of your own growth. You can't wait for somebody else to finally recognize you, to be like, oh, they're ready. You have to Define your own success. Don't let anyone dictate your path. Have that aspiration. Tell somebody that you want to lead. Take on that leadership role. Do a land grab. Do something. Focus on what you can control. Don't let someone else dictate what your skills are and what your mindset will be and what your career is going to be. You can lead from where you are right now. You can mentor your colleagues. You can take initiative. You can champion security for your company. You can be that broader advice giver. You can, and there's another thing, you can keep learning. You'll never stop growing. Because, final thought, the future of our industry, our worlds, it depends on people like you. You're an individual with passion and skill. You're an individual with determination to make a difference. So thank you for that, because we need you. I want to retire soon. I want to sit on a beach. I want to make sure my systems, my infrastructure, my data is all safe. I want you to be in those roles. I want you to embrace the change. I want you to grow that next generation of cybersecurity professionals. So go out there, embrace the change, use your influence, create positive change, build a stronger digital world. We support each other, pay it forward, and together we can have that more secure world. And thank you.